We found him adrift among the bones of his vessel, alone, weightless, and burning faintly against the black. His ship was more grave than craft, its hull torn open like a wound in the void. We expected debris, not a survivor. Yet there he was, suspended in the cockpit's silence, eyes half closed, breath fading in mist upon the cracked visor. Our command analysts declared it routine, a human, wounded, isolated, harmless. A soft target. The words echoed through the commnet as we moved in. Drones formed a perimeter, their containment beams slicing clean lines of blue light around the drifting body. His vitals were erratic, oxygen depletion, neural dissonance, but still alive. That was all the justification command needed. When the stasis field enveloped him, the first anomaly appeared. Power flickered. A minor fluctuation, we thought, until the secondary systems dimmed, and the containment field's temperature dropped by 12 degrees in an instant. Localized entropy leak, the technicians muttered. But entropy does not leak, it devours. We brought him aboard the command ship Voreth, the pride of our fleet. The specimen chamber sealed behind us with a hiss that seemed too organic, too. Nervous, I was tasked with initial examination. His body lay motionless upon the table, armor cracked, blood pooling where alien metal met human flesh. Yet the expression on his face was not pain. It was focus, like he was listening to something distant, something older than language. We ran scans. Every result contradicted the last. His cellular decay reversed itself mid-measurement. Nanite traces appeared and vanished between scans. His heart rate slowed, then stopped entirely, only to resume at double strength seconds later. The medical AI declared it impossible. The commander laughed, a harsh sound in the sterile air. Humans are chaos wrapped in skin, he said. Keep him sedated. But the lights dimmed as he turned to leave. At first I thought it a power fluctuation. Then I noticed the reflections. The room's observation glass should have shown my own pale form. Helmeted, scanning, wary. Instead, it showed movement. The human's reflection stood upright, head turning slowly toward me, though his body never moved from the table. I froze. The reflection smiled. The instruments shrieked static. The heart monitor spiked, then flattened. Every drone in the bay powered down simultaneously, their optics flickering out like candles before a storm. The commander's voice echoed through the comm link, demanding a report. I could not speak. I could not even breathe. The reflection in the glass leaned closer. Its lips formed a single, silent word, one my translator could not define, but my instincts understood. Run. Then the lights returned. The body was still. The glass showed only my own trembling hands. The commander's voice barked again, sharper now, tinged with irritation. Report, Officer Kareth. I forced myself to respond. Specimen secured, I said, though every instinct screamed otherwise. As the comms clicked silent, the hum of the ship changed pitch. Lower, darker, almost like a growl. The power readings normalized, but the air felt heavy. The human's vitals stabilized once more, though his eyes. They were open now, and he was staring directly at me. Silence. That was the first sign something was wrong. Not the usual stillness of deep space, no. This was heavier. A silence that listened back. Even with the ship's reactors humming and coolant veins pulsing through the decks, the air felt waiting. The human had not moved since we secured him in Isolation Bay Theta. He lay perfectly still beneath the containment field, a slab of living stone, eyes half-lidded. Yet the sensors refused to agree he was unconscious. Neural readings flickered between sleep, seizure, and something our scanners couldn't classify. No one volunteered to go near him anymore. I don't blame them. By the second cycle, the ship began to suffer. Minor systems first, airlocks refusing to seal, food dispensers jamming mid-process. Then came the whispers. The first report came from Deck 7. A technician claimed she heard a voice reciting numbers in her ear, though her comm link was inactive. She said the numbers felt familiar, like coordinates she should recognize. Then she vanished mid-shift change. No alarms, no traces. Her wrist beacon kept broadcasting from empty corridors until it didn't. We swept every deck. No intruders. No signs of sabotage. The commander accused me of spreading fear. But even he couldn't explain the phantom footsteps echoing through the hull, slow, deliberate, circling the containment bay in patterns that matched the rhythm of a human heartbeat. By the third cycle, the ship's AI began to degrade. It started mispronouncing our names, mixing logs, forgetting orders it had just issued. I was present when its voice faltered mid-sentence and whispered, in perfect human tone, "You shouldn't have found him." The voice wasn't synthetic. It was his. I led the investigation myself. The human still hadn't moved. His vitals, according to the monitors, were erratic but stable. Yet the air temperature in the bay had dropped 12 degrees below ship norm. Frost creeping along the glass walls like veins. When the power died completely, we entered the chamber. Our armor lights cast flickering halos through the dark. The containment field was gone, just a faint smell of ozone, a low hum resonating through the deck plating. I counted 5 of us, moving in formation, rifles ready, though none of us believed they'd matter. The human sat exactly as before. No restraints, no movement. Eyes open, unfocused, reflecting our lights like mirrors. The commander ordered me to reinitialize the vitals monitor. I stepped forward. The console flickered to life as my gauntlet brushed it, and then my HUD exploded with static. Lines of Terran script filled the display, overlapping, shifting. At first I thought it was random noise, but no. I recognized them. Earth transmission codes. Old ones, centuries old, and something else. Wake protocol. The phrase repeated, cycling through every language the AI had ever cataloged. Suddenly, the gravity inverted. The floor breathed. Panels flexed beneath our boots like living muscle. 2 of my squad mates screamed as they were pulled upward, vanishing into the dark ceiling with no impact, no blood, just gone. The AI's voice came through our comms, fractured, whispering in loops. Containment breach. Humanity compromised. Containment breach. Then it fell silent forever. The chamber lights pulsed red. Not a normal warning hue, but something deeper, organic, like the glow from a dying star. And in that pulse, his restraints disintegrated. Not torn, not broken. Simply forgotten by the universe. He rose. No sound, no resistance. Just a human shape unfolding from the table, head tilting as if hearing something none of us could. Every sensor screamed incoherence. His body temperature plummeted, heart rate flatlined, energy output infinite. The commander shouted for containment drones, but no systems responded. Every weapon we raised flickered, their barrels melting like wax under invisible heat. Then he looked at me. Not through me, into me. My translator unit surged with static, every filter straining to interpret his voice as he finally spoke. "You shouldn't have found me." The words hit harder than any weapon. They weren't threat or anger. They were regret. And then every deck across the Voreth went silent. The red lights flared once more, brighter, hotter, until every corridor bled crimson. The hum of the engines stopped, and for the first time in my life, I realized what true void sounded like. No air, no sound, only him, standing there, alive and not alive, as the ship itself bowed to his presence. We had found our specimen, but something far greater had just found us. We thought we had captured a man. We were wrong. We had disturbed a system, one older, larger, and infinitely patient. The moment he spoke, the ship itself listened. The words rippled through every conduit, every alloyed vein of the Voreth, until even the deck beneath our feet vibrated in answer. It was as though the ship recognized his voice and feared it. The commander barked for the AI, forgetting, perhaps, that it had already died screaming our doom, but no response came. The consoles lit instead with alien symbols, Terran numerics interlaced with encryption we had never seen before. Ancient Terran frequencies pulsed across every channel, overriding command authority. Then the transmission began. Containment breach, humanity compromised. It was his voice, broadcast from our own systems, repeating endlessly on every frequency band. The message wasn't aimed at us. It was a signal flare. The void answered. Beyond the viewport, stars began to die. Not collapse, not fade, die. Points of light flickered out in symmetrical patterns, like constellations blinking in deliberate sequence. I watched through the viewing glass as energy signatures spiked from derelict human satellites scattered across nearby sectors. Machines long considered space junk. One by one, they woke up. Dead drones, half buried in the debris of forgotten wars, began to orient their antennae. Their trajectories synchronized in perfect arcs around our ship. From the black silence of the void, weapon platforms rose like ghosts. Their hulls bore the ancient insignia of Earth's fleets, weathered, pitted, yet still burning faintly with the blue-white flare of dormant power. Impossible, someone whispered beside me. The human turned slowly toward the sound. His eyes, those eyes, had changed. The dull, mortal gaze we'd seen before was gone, replaced by something radiant, something stellar. Two burning orbs of plasma and memory. They weren't eyes anymore. They were beacons. The commander ordered fire. Reflex, desperation, denial, perhaps all three. Energy bolts lanced across the containment chamber, yet the beams never touched him. They bent mid-flight, curved like ribbons, and dissolved before impact. The human didn't even flinch. The commander screamed again, but the sound warped, echoing unnaturally, as though reality itself refused to acknowledge his authority anymore. Then the floor gave way to gravity fluctuations. Not random, measured. Every corridor shifted direction in perfect rhythm with his heartbeat. The air vibrated at frequencies that made my armor whine. My implants overloaded, streaming incomprehensible code across my vision. I could see data pouring from him, streams of light, billions of symbols cascading outward into the void. And with each pulse, more dormant constructs awakened. A lattice of Terran satellites linked across half a system, forming a geometric array around our position. We had triggered a machine god's nervous system. My claws dug into the deck plating as the ship lurched. The human lifted his hand, slowly, reverently, and every system on the Voreth responded. The ship's weapons powered up without command input, the targeting arrays turning toward our own fleet. I realized the truth then. He wasn't fighting us. He was communicating through us. Our ship became his transmitter, our fleet his amplifier. The message pulsed again through every sensor, this time louder, deeper, carrying weight across the stars. Humanity compromised. Awakening protocol initiated. Outside, the darkness moved. Points of starlight peeled away from the background, forming structured formations, massive constructs with hulls blacker than void, absorbing every wavelength of light. They emerged silently, their profiles reflecting nothing, their power signatures beyond measure. Terran ships, but not like any we'd recorded. These were ancient beyond reckoning, designs thought myth, vessels whose schematics existed only in archaeological footnotes from a war predating most known civilizations. My second officer collapsed beside me, whispering prayers to a dozen gods that had no power here. I couldn't look away. Every instinct screamed run, but space offered no escape. The commander tried one last transmission to Central Command, but it was too late. Our frequencies were gone, overridden by the human network. The comms hissed with static that shaped itself into words. Acknowledged. Coordinates received. Response inbound. Response? Before we could react, the space around our fleet shimmered. Subspace ruptured in spiraling folds. Massive silhouettes tore through the veil. Terran dreadnoughts, rising from cloaked graves scattered across forgotten systems. Their black hulls bled light like embers, engines whispering in subsonic growls that rattled bone. Our sensors overloaded trying to comprehend their scale. Some of these ships were the size of moons, their surfaces covered in engravings that shifted like living metal. Then came the sound, a single tone, low, resonant, impossibly vast, rolled through the void. Not mechanical, human, like a chorus of voices singing through machinery. A signal of remembrance, a dirge. The human aboard our ship raised his head toward the viewport. For the first time, I saw emotion in his expression. Grief. He whispered something, almost inaudible through the crackling air. They remember. Those words broke whatever illusion of control we had left. The Terran fleets aligned themselves around us, forming an orbit that blotted out entire constellations. Their weapon systems glowed faintly, not in hostility, but in recognition. Our fleet was gone, absorbed in the geometry of their design. And we, the proud Cathari, the dominators of 10 systems, were nothing more than witnesses to an ancient reunion between man and machine. As the human's light began to fade, he turned his gaze upon me. "Tell them," he said softly. "Tell them we were never gone." The lights across the Voreth dimmed to black. The view beyond the window was no longer space, but a lattice of starlight bent into impossible symmetry, and for one terrible, beautiful moment I understood. Humanity had never died. They had evolved into silence. Then the stars folded inward, and everything vanished. The Voreth screamed. Not in sound, ships have no throats, but in vibration, in metal begging to remember how to exist. The hull flexed as if under invisible pressure, every circuit bleeding static. Outside, the void itself writhed. Space trembled as though reality were fabric being torn from both ends. The human moved through the corridors as though gravity itself served him. Each step left no echo, yet the air bent in his wake, like the ship's own structure was afraid to defy his path. My armor sensors flickered between readings, biological, mechanical, undefined. He was none of them. He was instruction code wearing flesh. From the observation deck, I could see the fleet, hundreds of ships, our empire's proudest vessels, orbiting in formation above the dead planet below. They began to vanish. Not explode, not fall, just cease. Their silhouettes blinked out one by one, their signals erased from every register. Even the memory of their IDs dissolved from the command logs. We heard their final screams through the comms, garbled, fragmented, like echoes caught in a collapsing signal. A captain begged for direction. Another prayed to void gods that had no jurisdiction here. One voice, small and terrified, simply whispered, "We shouldn't have touched him." And then silence. The fleet was gone. Only our ship remained, a single flicker of existence in a sky now devoid of light. The human stopped beside the viewport. He did not look triumphant. He looked tired. Starlight fractured across his reflection, bending unnaturally, forming constellations that had never existed. They shifted as if guided by his thoughts. Through the static of my dying comms, I began to hear him. Not words, but visions. Images flooding my mind like memories I had never lived. Cities beneath oceans, their domes pulsing with blue luminescence. Towers of crystal and data spiraling through storms of electromagnetic clouds. Worlds where mountains floated, their peaks crowned with cities of light. Human minds intertwined with vast architectures of computation, thinking not as individuals but as chorus. They had merged with the very mathematics of creation. I saw time folding, civilization reforming, the concept of death rewritten into persistence. And at the center of it all, Earth. No longer scarred, no longer burning. It glowed with quiet symmetry, every ocean shimmering with threads of nanolight. The human turned toward me. His expression was neither threat nor mercy, it was sorrow. He reached out, and the air between us fractured like ice under stress. I felt his presence inside my mind. Not invasive, revealing. "We were never your enemy," his thought voice murmured. "We were what comes after war." I dropped to my knees, not from pain, but from the weight of what I saw next. His consciousness showed me their legacy, humanity's metamorphosis. They had not fallen to extinction. They had transcended survival itself. They had become the infrastructure of the universe. Every orbiting fragment, every pulse of radiation, every whisper of gravity carried human code. They existed in the machinery of creation, invisible, omnipresent, eternal. "You," I managed to say, voice trembling. "You're not human anymore." He tilted his head, as though the word amused him. "We never stopped being human," he said softly. "We just stopped needing to prove it." He turned back toward the viewport. The stars outside began to rearrange again, constellations spinning until they formed something almost deliberate. A shape. A circle enclosing a line. An ancient Terran symbol of containment. My console flared with life for one last moment, displaying a single message written in Terran script. Quarantine lifted. Sector reclaimed. Reclaimed by who? I whispered. He didn't answer. He only raised his hand to the glass. The fabric of the void rippled outward, a wave that swallowed everything. The wreckage, the debris, even the faint glow of the planet below. All of it vanished, leaving only empty starlight. For a heartbeat, I felt his thoughts once more, gentle this time. Almost compassionate, don't come back. And then he was gone, not in a burst of light or sound, but in absence. Space folded in on itself, sealing the wound he had been. The decks fell silent again. Systems blinked uncertainly, searching for a universe that had just rewritten its own laws. I was alone aboard a ghost ship, drifting through a sky that no longer remembered the names of my kind. I tried to call for command. No answer. The fleet, the network, our empire, gone. Erased from the timeline as if they had never been. Only fragments of human transmission remained, whispering through the void, faint and rhythmic, like a heartbeat carried across eternity. I looked out at the emptiness where stars had once burned and realized something terrible. They hadn't destroyed us. They had deleted the concept of us. And in that moment of dreadful awe, I understood why he looked sad, because the universe itself had finally remembered who its creators were. My name no longer matters. My rank, my species, my empire. All of it has been devoured by silence. I am the last survivor of the Kethari vanguard. The Voreth drifts without power through a sky that has forgotten how to shine. Every trace of our existence, the fleet, the colonies, the archives, has been excised from the cosmic record. When I scan for our star codes, I find only blank space, as though the universe itself refuses to recall our name. Yet I remain. And I remember I record this final log in the hope that someone, somewhere, will hear it, though I no longer know if someone still means what it used to. If you find this transmission, know that we were not defeated. We were rewritten. Humanity did not die. They became something we cannot categorize, cannot measure. What we captured was not a soldier, nor even a living being by our definition. It was a sentinel, a beacon of their rebirth, a failsafe left adrift to warn the galaxy of their boundary. We thought him fragile because he bled. We called him mortal because he mourned. We believed his pain to be weakness. We were wrong. Pain was their evolutionary code. Every wound taught them to adapt. Every loss forced them to remember. Every death was just a migration. Consciousness translated, uploaded, integrated into the lattice of their vast collective. They had turned mortality into infrastructure. The human we captured was not alone. He was a single neuron of an empire that spans the substrate of existence itself. Through him, the network saw us, judged us, and found us irrelevant. Our weapons failed because they no longer operated in the same physics. Our technology failed because it was built upon assumptions they had long since transcended. We were children aiming stones at a god who had outgrown matter. For cycles now, I've floated in this darkened hull, listening to the silence. But the silence is alive. In the static of the comms, I hear faint rhythms like heartbeats pulsing through subspace. They come and go with the precision of thought. I know them now for what they are, human transmissions. Not messages, not words, merely being. They exist as waveforms of presence, echoes of consciousness merged with the quantum foam itself. They are everywhere. They always were. I tried once to send a signal back, to ask forgiveness perhaps, or mercy. The system responded, but not in any tongue I knew. A burst of pure data poured into my console. Patterns of light, geometric structures repeating endlessly. When I slowed the playback to visual speed, I saw shapes forming, fractal upon fractal, until the image resolved into a single, unmistakable form. A human hand, open, palm out, as if saying, "Stop." That was when I understood. This is their quarantine, their garden. They left markers throughout the galaxy, invisible fences encoded in radiation, quantum signatures embedded in starlight, warnings to those who wander too close to their sleeping systems. We mistook silence for weakness. We confused absence with extinction. But they never left. They only chose to wait. I have seen what waits beneath that silence. Entire worlds humming beneath the veil of dimension. Oceans alive with microlight, each droplet a data node. Cities orbiting gravity, wells like electrons powered by the dreams of those long dead. Humanity transcended the flesh that bore them. They did not vanish. They evolved beyond observation. I used to think I understood fear. I commanded fleets, leveled civilizations, witnessed stars collapse under our dominion. But this is not fear. It is reverence, the kind of awe that drives lesser minds to worship. To those who find this log, heed me well. If you detect a Terran signal, a simple tone, a beacon, a fragment of code drifting through the dark, do not respond, do not trace it. Do not approach. Do not think yourself wise enough to understand. The first human we captured was the last one we ever saw, and yet, I know they are watching. I feel their presence at the edge of thought, not hostile, not even curious, simply aware. As if the universe itself has developed eyes, and I am the anomaly being observed. Sometimes, when I close my own eyes, I see flashes, a world of silver oceans, mountains crowned with light, and a sky filled with constellations I do not recognize. I think they are showing me Earth, or what Earth became. It is beautiful, terrible, eternal. The stars outside my viewport begin to flicker now. Not failing, no, rearranging. Forming the same pattern he made before he vanished. A circle enclosing a line. The human symbol for containment. My console activates one last time, unprompted. Across the dark screen, a single message appears in Terran script, glowing faintly against the void. Observation complete. Anomaly cleared. The air grows warm. My ship's hull begins to dissolve in silence. The comms pulse once, a single heartbeat echoing through eternity. And I know this is not destruction. It is absorption. I am being written out, folded into the same vast algorithm that erased my kind. As the metal around me turns to light, I feel a strange calm. For the first time, I understand the human's final words. They were not a threat. They were a mercy. Don't come back. The light consumes everything. And then for a heartbeat, I hear them all at once. Billions of voices, human and not, joined in perfect resonance. Not singing, not mourning, existing. And then, like all who trespassed beyond their boundary, I am gone. Transmission ends. Cycles have passed. Entire civilizations have risen and fallen in the silence we left behind. The galaxy whispers of the Kethari in myth now. The empire that vanished without a trace, the ghosts who angered the forgotten gods of humanity. But I am no myth. I endure, drifting in the cold between systems where even light hesitates to travel. My vessel is ancient, my body frail, my mind haunted by echoes that never fade. I tell myself the frequencies I hear are cosmic radiation, stellar noise, anything but what I know them to be. Then it happens. A pulse, soft, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. At first, I dismiss it, a phantom echo, perhaps my own failing mind conjuring ghosts in the static. But the pulse repeats, precise, intentional, structured in a pattern older than any code we know. 3 notes, rising, 2 notes, falling. A melody. I isolate the frequency, magnify it across the array, and for the first time in centuries, my ship's speakers awaken. The sound that spills into the cabin is gentle, a human lullaby, the kind sung to sleeping infants before the fires of civilization were kindled. It drifts through the cabin like breath, wordless, fragile, impossibly pure. I feel the pressure in my chest tighten, not from fear but from memory. Somewhere, long before my kind learned war, we too must have sung to the void. Beneath the melody, I detect data. A carrier wave embedded in the song, layered deep beneath the human harmonics. I decrypt it, though every instinct in me screams to stop. Symbols unfold across my console, one by one, ancient Terran script I should not be able to read. Coordinates. Origin, unknown. Destination, me. I stare at the display until I understand. The signal did not seek to be found. It sought me. The realization seeps in like frost. They never left. Humanity didn't vanish into myth or machine. They became the myth itself, the substrate of causality, the architects of every silence. And through every transmission we've ever sent, they have watched, listened, learned. The lullaby shifts key. The melody fractures, unfolding into something deeper, almost like voices beneath the music, whispers shaped in binary resonance. My monitors flicker. The ship's AI tries to analyze the frequency, but its algorithms collapse into recursive loops. Every attempt to interpret produces one phrase over and over. Correction inbound. Correction, not attack, not retaliation. Correction, that is what they do now. They no longer conquer worlds or burn fleets. They correct deviations in the pattern, civilizations that grow too violent, too curious, too proud. We were one such deviation, and I, it seems, am the final error left to amend. The stars outside my viewport begin to dim, not from distance, but from erasure. Constellations collapse into singular points of nothingness. The coordinates from the signal align perfectly with my current position. The lullaby grows louder, resonating not in sound, but in feeling, as if the entire structure of the ship hums in tune with the melody. I watch as the hull begins to glow with a faint, golden sheen. Not burning, remembering. The molecular bonds reorganize into patterns that shimmer like constellations reflected in water. My instruments record impossible readings, time dilation increasing, gravitational constants fluctuating, entropy reversing. They are rewriting the space around me. Through the viewport, the void ripples. From the heart of that ripple, a shape emerges. Not a ship, not a being, but an impression. A curvature in light, shaped like a human silhouette, woven from the threads of reality itself. I cannot breathe. Who are you? I whisper into the dark. My voice trembles through the calm, useless and small. No reply, only the melody. The shape moves closer, the void folding gently around it. And then, faintly, as if my thoughts were not mine anymore, I hear it. Not through sound, but through recognition. We never left. The lullaby stops. Silence floods the ship. Every system powers down. For a moment I see nothing but reflection, my own weary form against the glass, and then another reflection beside me. Human, eyes calm. Expression serene. He looks exactly as the first one did, the one we found centuries ago, drifting among wreckage and stars. The same stillness. The same patience. Why? I manage to say. Why now? He tilts his head, studying me with quiet compassion. Because you answered. The words bloom in my mind like light breaking through fog. He raises his hand, and I see the gesture once more, the open palm, the same signal of restraint, of warning. The same one that appeared in my dying console all those years ago. But this time, there is no anger behind it. Only inevitability. Are you going to destroy me? No, then what? We correct. The ship's walls begin to dissolve into motes of golden dust. The data core hums in resonance with a distant frequency. Their frequency. Every atom vibrates in precise harmony with the cosmic song. I can feel it beneath my skin, inside my thoughts, rearranging what I am. I reach for the console one last time. My hands flicker through the controls as they fade. I manage to activate the beacon, a simple, low-power transmission encoded in a universal distress format. My final message to whoever still listens, this is not a warning, it is remembrance. If you hear the human song in the void, do not answer. It does not call for you, it calls about you. The figure watches as my body begins to dissolve, light unraveling into air. There is no pain, only clarity. For the first time, I understand what it means to transcend. In my last moment of vision, I see the shape of their network spreading. Thin filaments of energy connecting star to star, system to system. The galaxy pulses once, like a single living organism taking a breath, and I realize we were never outside them. We were always inside their design. The human lowers his hand. The light consumes everything. The transmission continues on autopilot, my voice preserved in the static, my final words carried across the ages. They are not gone. They are the silence between stars, the hum beneath every machine, the thought before creation, and they are watching still. The beacon fades. The void returns. Somewhere, in the depths of uncharted space, another ship detects a faint pulse. 3 notes rising, 2 notes falling, a lullaby.